Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Chakodash. Double honor to the apostles of GMS that give us his truth and all his purity, and salutations to all you accomplishing this word throughout the four corners of the earth. This lesson is going into how these Americans aren't ready for what's to come. And in the video, you're going to see Jake talking about how majority of Americans wouldn't even be able to run, if they had to when the troops invade, and pretty much how Americans in general aren't ready for what's to come. And he's right on that, man. And the scriptures go into that. How America, Babylon, how they're complacent, and pretty much how they're going to get caught off guard. So this is Nahum chapter 3, verse, I'm going to start at 4. It says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredom, and families through her witchcrafts. That's talking about America. The well-favored harlot is Babylon the Great. When you read Revelation 17, Revelation the 18th chapter, it describes Babylon the Great, the great whore, that rideth upon the scarlet colored beast. The great whore is America. The scarlet colored beast represent NATO and the EU. America controls NATO and the EU. And, between them, America and NATO and the EU, they control the whole entire planet Earth. So it says because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot. And what are those whoredoms? Those whoredoms represent sin. That represents those different philosophies that America places upon other nations, whether it be LGBT, democracy, feminism, and so on and so forth. Their movies, the entertainment, their media, which affects the psyche and affects people's behaviors. So that's the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, because the so-called white man, that's what he thrives off of, is worshiping Satan. He worshiped the gods of ancient empires. They worship Baal, they worship those different gods, which ultimately are all Satan and demons that they worship, and they put that in their media. They put that in their movies. They put different subliminals throughout different advertisement to affect the minds of people. So that's witchcraft. That selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahshua, power of hosts. And I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will shew the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. And that's what's happening now. All the nations, they seen America for what it really is. How corrupt it is, how, morally depraved it is, They're seeing how weak America is, the political system, how everything is all a scam. The money, that's why all these nations, they're coming together to have their own currency, and their own payment system, which is the BRICS. So it says, and I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and I will make thee vile, and I will set thee as a gazing stock. Yeah, so America is being made a gazing stock. And when you go into it, the word there is ra'ai. And it says looking, appearance, seeing, sight, seeing, appearance, sight, spectacle. So America is being made a spectacle, with Trump being in office, the different things that's being put on the news. America is a spectacle, man. The other countries, they look at America as a joke. And now you have America's tourism has tanked. They lost hundreds of billions of dollars since Trump took office because all these nations, they're choosing to spend money amongst themselves rather than spend money on Babylon because of the disrespect that Trump is, throwing towards them, the tariffs that's being placed on them. These nations are angry, man. The scriptures tell you that the nations are mad, right? So we've seen the nations being mad. China just had this meeting, this SCO meeting with different heads around the world. That was a statement to America because they also had a military parade showcasing their technology. right? So this place is going to be made a gazing stock. It's being made a gazing stock. But the ultimate way how the Lord is going to make this place a spectacle is going to be by the way of the nuclear destruction, because the whole world is going to witness America's destruction, according to prophecy. The smoke, the fire that's going to come from the 200 million warheads is going to go up to space. So everywhere in the world will be able to witness it. It says, verse 7, and it shall come to pass that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? When shall I seek comforters for thee? That's right. So you're starting to see that already. These different nations are leaving America. You know, I was watching the news. I think it was the news. Yeah, it was the news where you had these people talking about the tariffs, and they were talking about how they were at different fairs, different events, and you got different foreigners that's here, that got businesses here, saying that they might not be here by next year because of the tariffs that Trump is placing on these different countries, because it's affecting all businesses, whether it be small or big, you know. So the economy is tanking, right? So so a lot of them are leaving, and they seeing also how Trump is doing those draconic measures, sending the feds down, you know, passing different bills that allow for them to deport even American citizens, you know. So they're all leaving. And it says Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? When shall I seek comforters for thee? It says, art thou better than Populus? No, thou was situated among the rivers that had the waters round about it, whose rampart was the sea, and her wall was from the sea. Ethiopia and Egypt were her strength, and it was infinite. Put and Lubim were thy helpers. And that's talking about the Assyrians. You know, they had those different provinces. So you had Egypt, they got conquered. The Populus No is a Egyptian city that got conquered by the Assyrians, you know. And then the Assyrians eventually, you know, they had those different regions that they had power over, and eventually the Lord sent the Babylonians to take down the Assyrians, right? So that's why it mentions that. It says, yet she was carried away, yet was she carried away, she went into captivity. Her young children also were dashed in pieces at the top of all the streets. That's right. So that's what the Assyrians did to them. So that's what ended up happening to the Assyrians, by the way, the Babylonians. So pretty much America is the new Assyria, and that's what's going to happen to America. America, just like America conquered the rest of these other nations, America is going to get conquered the same way. America used their military strength against other smaller countries. Now, those smaller other countries are going to use their military strength against America, man. Babylon, right? That's why the scriptures say, let the weak say, I am strong. These nations, they're all aligning themselves with Russia, with each other, doing drills with each other, sharing military secrets and technologies. And eventually, they're going to make their way here to America and attack it. You know, they're going to have a ground invasion, and eventually it's going to be missile invasion. You already see in Venezuela, Trump making war against Venezuela. You got Russia and China backing them up, as well as Iran. So Iran is planning on having a drone base over there in Venezuela. And Russia and China, they're going to have their bases too, as well as military. So they can be closer to America, man. So, you know, these Americans, they're not ready for the troops, whether it be the foreign troops or the actual American troops, right? So it says, and they cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains. Thou also shalt be drunken, thou shalt be hid, thou shalt also seek strength because of the enemy. All thy strongholds shall be like fig trees, and with the first ripe figs, if they be shaken, they shall even fall into the mouth of the eater. Yeah, so the strongholds represents your, you know, your defense, your strength. Ain't gonna be no missile defense system that's gonna stop the missiles from coming here to Babylon. Trump talking about a golden dome. The golden dome ain't gonna work. You know, it's not even doable. You know, None of this white man's technology is 100% accurate. Even the Iron Dome that the Israelis have, which they got the Iron Dome, they got the David Sling, and they got something else. All three of them failed against the Iranian missiles. So what make you think that you could defend yourself against the Iranian missiles, the Chinese missiles, the Russian missiles, and all these nations' missiles, man? Because it's 200 million, well, not warheads, but it's going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of missiles, the delivery system for those warheads coming to America. So it's going to overwhelm the system, right? So your strongholds, it says, they shall fall into the mouth of the eater. The eater represents the other nations, devouring this place with fire. It says, behold, thy people in the midst of thee are women. The gates of thy land shall be set wide open unto thine enemies. The fire shall devour thy bars. So these people here, they're not ready. You know, it says the people in the midst of thee are women. What is that saying? That's basically saying they're weak, because that's what women are. The scriptures say they're the weaker vessel. So these people, they're weak, man. Their minds aren't ready for what's to come. You know, other countries that are poor, you go to the islands, South America, you go to Africa, you know, these people, they're used to seeing calamity. Americans aren't. That's why this place is known as the Virgin Daughter of Babylon. This is Isaiah chapter 47, verse 1. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O Virgin Daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. That's right. So the Virgin Daughter of Babylon, that's America. And the reason why America is known as the Virgin Daughter of Babylon is because America never really suffered any great calamity like in these other countries. So it's never really been touched. So it says, sit on the ground, there is no throne, or daughter of the Chaldeans. So there's no throne, meaning what? No more rulership. The American hegemony is over. There is no more American empire, man. These nations are angry. Right now you have the Arabs all coming together to speak against those people over there in the Holy Land. You know, not gonna say names no more, but they know who they are. But those Arabs, they coming up and condemning them because America has to have given them the green light because they control the Qatar airspace. So now these Arabs, they're gonna come up against America too, right? So they're gonna send troops and eventually missiles, man. So it says, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and ground meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. That all represents affliction, you know? So that's what's coming to America, man. Affliction. No more jobs, no more economy, you know? No more buying that new house, you know, getting that new job you wanted. That shit is over with, man. No more going to the grocery stores, going to the movies, having fun, partying. It's going to be a time of nothing but mourning, man. It says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance and I would not meet thee as a man. So America's being exposed. And the main way it's being exposed is not through alternative media. It's not through none of that, man. He's being exposed through the prophets. All right. Through the men of GMS and others like-minded around the world. We're the ones exposing this space for what it is, man. So it says, I would take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. That's speaking about Yahweh Shai. All right. He's coming to take vengeance. Vengeance for what? For what happened to his people, man. The children of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The Lord is not going to let this place, you know, just go and check for that, man. You know, he ain't let the Egyptians slide. So what makes you think you so-called white people think you got away with it, man? The same angel of death that came upon the Egyptians is going to be the same angel of death to come upon Babylon, which is Yahweh Shai, on that chariot, those so-called UFOs, man. That's why you're being plagued with those UFOs. You don't know what to do. All you can do is have those Congress hearings. Nothing you can do, man. You shoot missiles at it, all kinds of shit, and the chariots are indestructible. You got that recent video that came out in Congress showing the video of the UFO that got shot by a Hellfire missile and it just kept going. The missile didn't even affect it, man. So that's why the scriptures say the chariots of the Egyptians, the so-called white men, they're flesh but not spirit, because the Most High's angelic vehicles, they're made of pure energy, pure spirit. They're indestructible, man. You know? So this is why Yahushua is not going to meet you as a man. They're gods compared to you, man. They are gods. You know, God's is in the Hebrew is Alahayim, which means powers, judges, and angels. That's what the angels are. Those UFOs. All right. So it says, as for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. The Lord of hosts, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father and Yahushua being the only begotten Son. It says, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Yeah, so this place is not being seen as the beacon of the world anymore. You know? Like I said, tourism has tanked in America, man. So nobody wants to come here anymore. People are going to start going to China, and they already are, you know? And Russia, them other countries, man. They already show you the contrast between America and China. How China is way much more advanced, man. It says, I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand, and thou didst shew them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. That's right. So the Lord was angry with us. And that's why he sent us into captivity and brought all the curses of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, on us. Is because we went off in our past lives and in this life. You know, that's why Jake catch hell. You know? So the Lord polluted us by giving us into your hands. And look what you did to us. You mentally fucked us, man. You know? You give us drugs, crack, all kinds of shit. Do psychological operations on Jake. You know? Put drugs and guns in the neighborhoods. Control the gangs. You know? Create rap music. Gangster rap. To keep Jake in perpetual state of, you know, gang life and in prison. So you have to pay for that, man. It says, upon the ancient has thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Yeah, even the old in slavery had to work. They didn't have to retire. They had to work up until they died, man. And to this day, our people still have to work until they die. You know, there's no retirement for our people. We don't have any generational wealth. And even when our people retire, they still go back to work. You know, Jacob will retire from one job just to go get another part-time job. So it's never over. The retirement age is, you know, it keeps going up. So it says, and thou says, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst thou remember the latter end of it. Yeah, the scriptures tell you that Esau's inward thought is that his house shall continue forever, and his dwelling place to all generations. And they call their lands after their own names. So America, Esau, the so-called white man, in his mind, he's always thought that this place would go on for ages, man. That's why this devil, Willie Lynch, in his letter, he said that the mental slavery that we would be under would last about 1,000 years or something like that. Because they never thought that they would go down, man. So they didn't remember the latter end. They didn't remember that they would have to pay for it in the end. Because the Most High, he requires that which is past. The Lord is not mocked. Whatsoever a man sows, that shall he reap. So what have you sown? Bloodshed, murder, you know, the theft of continents, the thefts of resources, wealth, slavery, you know. You have a lot of blood on your hands, man, and you have to pay for that. So it says, therefore, hear not this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that says in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. This is America. This is why these people aren't ready, because they're giving over the pleasures to entertainment, video games, you know, sports, you know, movies, you name it. These people have some type of entertainment feeding their lust, to keep their minds distracted from the reality. And the reality is the fact that this place is crumbling, So they try to keep hope alive. They try to go to clubs, have parties, have fun. They try to soothe the hurt that they're under. So it says that says in thine heart, I am and none else beside me. I am and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. And that's the mindset of these people. They don't think what's happening over there in the Middle East and other parts of the earth could come here to the hills of America. And that's why they're going to get caught off guard. And that's the whole point of this video, man. These Americans are ready. They're not ready for the plagues. They're not ready for the troops. No, nothing, man. They're not ready to meet the Lord at all. So they're ripe for judgment, man. That's why the scriptures say the day of the Lord is going to come as a thief of the night. He's going to catch these people off guard. So it says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment and one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. Yes, so the loss of children and widowhood. So the men are going to die, the children are going to die, the women are going to die. The Lord is not going to spare, man. Ezekiel, the 9th chapter, the Lord commanded the angel. He said, go through the midst of the city and don't spare. He said, slay old and young, both maids, little children, and women. So anybody can get it, man. So it says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment and one day. It says, the loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. So all of this is happening for America's wickedness. All the witchcrafts that go on behind the scenes that people don't know about, all the enchantments, Hollywood, all that shit, all that is witchcraft, man. Trump's inauguration, that was witchcraft. There's so much witchcrafts that they've been doing for ages, man, and people have been unaware. They putting spells on nations, man. So this is what's coming. It says, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge that have perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am and none else beside me. So thy wisdom and thy knowledge that have perverted thee. Because what do you do with all this technology that the Lord has blessed you with? You pervert everything, You turn natural food into GMO. You mix different genes, breed different animals together, have transgender surgery. This place is perverted, man. So it says, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. So all these things are going to happen and catch people off guard. People ain't going to know what hit them. One day they're going to wake up, the economy is going to be collapsed, World War III is going to be declared, it's going to be famines, pestilence, all these things as prophesied in the scriptures, and it's going to be back to back to back. They ain't going to have time to recover from the previous calamity, just when they thought they're going through some shit, something else is going to come up, man, So it says, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Yeah, this new world order is not going to be accomplished, man. It's only going to be successful to a certain extent. You're going to have millions of people around the world that get chipped up. It's going to look like, they almost got it. Oh, we need this. Is this many people, this many more people, and we should be good. And then boom, the Lord is going to stop it short. So it says, thou art worried in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. And that represents all these different, magicians, those witches and warlocks on the left hand, You know, they watch for the heavens. They worship the stars of heaven, different constellations, different ancient gods and shit. You know, they predict different things based upon, you know, the constellations, when to do different events, you know. So they ain't going to be able to save you. It says, behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, no fire to sit before it. So just like the Egyptians, the Magi's, they got fucked up by the plagues too. Same thing for these witches and warlocks that's here on the shores of America. They're going to get hit with the same plagues. Just like all the Egyptians suffered the same plagues. So the fire that's going to burn them is what? The missile. That's going to be the main plague that the Lord sent on Babylon. You know? Zechariah 14:12, it describes the plague that shall be sent upon those that have fought against Jerusalem. Which Jerusalem, which we know is Israel, but is really mainly talking about the prophets, the elect. So anybody that fight against us, meaning the so-called white man, the heathens, and then 2/3 of our people as well, they're going to feel the same wrath that the Lord is going to send upon Esau, Edom, which is nuclear judgment. So it says, thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander everyone to his quarter, none shall save thee. That's right. So those old allies you have, they're going to send missiles here because you already turned them to enemies, you know, and they're going to get hit with missiles as well. You know, the fire that's coming, you know, the majority of it is going to be focused here on Babylon, but other parts of the earth are going to get hit with missiles too, because America got their own missiles that they're going to shoot back at Russia, China, and them other countries, man. All right. So with that, I'm going to end the lesson. I hope this was edifying. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Chakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS to give us his truth. And salutations to all your accomplishing this word. Shalom.
It's going to hit some nerves, but it is what it is. Now, just like I was telling somebody that I know, I was talking to them, and we basically were saying, if America got in a position where they declared a national emergencies and there was a worldwide war, I'm talking about Russians touch down in America, Chinese touch down in America, you feel me? Iran, anybody that's against America touch down in America. He talking about we'll be ready. I say, bro, do you know that most of America is out of shape outside of the military? And I've been in the military. Half of them motherfuckers not even in shape like that. Swear to God, unless you like Marines, you know, infantry, special forces type shit, work out on the regular. I done seen fat people in the military, nappy head, they don't keep themselves together and all that. So check this out. Most of the people is out of shape. Most men can't do 15 straight solid push-ups. You get what I'm saying? Most people can't pick up their cousin and run to the stop sign that's in their neighborhood. Imagine you getting chased by Chinese motherfuckers, Russian motherfuckers, Americans, president, government. They told you to scrap up and be ready because these people got grenades. They invaded the city. They coming from different sides, different areas. Bro, most people gonna die just off of giving up from running too long. And by too long, I'm talking about 0.4 miles. Most people can't run 0.4 miles straight. You know what I'm saying? And that ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Most people can't swim. If you had to cross some water, it's over with for niggas. This don't even include the fact that most people can't fight. Most people can't shoot or aim. You know what I'm saying? Most people not even willing to go to that training, even if they know shit was about to go down. And they say it was a real live world purge, but against anybody that's trying to come against America in America right now. Most people will die. Do you know that most people can watch their kid get picked up and somebody can run with their kid and you can't catch them? You can't even run. You don't got the wind to even get to them. Y'all don't think about this type of shit? You don't think about if it was a house burning and you got little kids in there, your girl in there, you got whoever, you might need to pick up a couple people. You might need to put somebody on your shoulder. You get what I'm saying? You might need to pick somebody up and get the stomping through the woods. Motherfuckers not ready for that, bro. Most people literally will die. One of the other reasons that people just gonna die is because everybody playing for keeps, playing for themselves. They ain't gonna want to click up with nobody else because they're not gonna trust them. It's gonna be a lot of people going against their own people, robbing them for food and all type of stuff. Motherfucker, the Russians out there, the Chinese out there. Nigga, they coming for us. Why we robbing each other? Why we killing each other? Because that's the type of shit that'll be going on. Niggas will be less worried about the fact that the Russians and Chinese over here, and when people get to evacuating, they'll loot the neighborhood, rob the neighborhood, and gonna end up getting separated and still getting killed. That's really some shit to think about for your ass.